Hello, welcome back to the Stakehouse for another Premier League edition. We're looking at game week 11 this time. Full preview and tips on the way. I'm Conor McCabe. I'm joined by the man with the mystic model. It's the one and only Lucas Dzinski back again. Lucas, how you doing?
Good, I'm good, although still relatively fresh in my mind. The Brentford game on Monday. Obviously, I went to it. It wasn't great. It's still on my mind at the moment. It's living rent free.
Nice positive way to start the pod, mate. There's plenty of time to discuss it, but let's look at the good news first. You absolutely smashed it out of the park with your model, and it's actually on fire at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. So far, so good, mate. Let's hope there's no a bit of variance incoming. But yeah, no, it's been doing well. I feel like the bets as well have been placed. Like the games have gone the right way, apart from the Aston Villa Bournemouth game the other week. But that was swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, but overall, you're looking really positive and a great
Yeah,
start last week in terms of West Ham away at Forest, predicting their downfall. So that was a great start.
yeah. But
However, you didn't
your shots on target was a
put him,
blinder,
I'd
mate.
say. Yeah, you got there. So we had I
Easy.
I picked up 1.5 points on him to have one plus shot on target, and I got the 5 to 1 on him to have two. So that was a lovely bit of profit. And I also managed to call Newcastle versus Arsenal finishing under 2.5 goals as well. City let me down for the clean sweep, but again, look, 4 points of profit from me, one from you. If you backed every single one of our tips, you'd have actually ended up 5 points in profit. So if you're not backing them, it's definitely time to start. Just before we launch into the weekly fixtures as well, the last thing just to mention is occasionally we might post out a tip on our social media that we
Yep.
don't cover in the pod. And the reason for that is because as the game gets closer, odds might become more favourable, or we might get some team news or anything like that. So it's always worth having notifications turned on for our Twitter, just to make sure that you don't miss any of those last minute tips or even in play tips that we might throw at you here and there. But without further ado, let's launch straight in and let's talk about the game that you really want to talk about. You've just mentioned that you were there. Um, Brentford versus Bournemouth is a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff, and Brentford are fresh off a gut wrenching late turnaround by the Fulham. What happened?
Right, I was honestly like that was probably the worst performance we've put in. Actually, nothing going forward. Like no one created anything. Our best opportunity came in the 94th minute when it was 1-1. Towards the end, like the goal we conceded as well. Both goals were like just fucking, it's just like they were like yeah, worldies. Like yeah, I'm actually lost for words to be honest because we had nothing going forward. We were just sitting back. Like no, usually we'd be quite good on the counter, but didn't create anything. I think was a massive miss. Roslev on playing right back wasn't great, but you can't blame it just on one player, right? So a bit disappointing. Like look, like Fulham deserved to win that game, but the way we lost was just brutal, right? If it was like 2-1, it was like 60 minutes, whatever. I'll be like happy with that. But I did actually make money on the game because I was at the ground. I just saw us getting peppered just like non-stop. So what I did, I put money when we were 1-0 up. I think like sort of like 80th minute, something like that. I put money on a draw. Um, Quickly, as soon as Fulham scored, cashed that out and put money on a Fulham win, and obviously that came in. And the Fulham win was 11-1. So
So let's just get this straight. You backed against your own team.
yeah, I mean, value's value, right? Like
Brentford are lucky
I
to.
knew he was coming, right? Like the way they were just peppering us. Flecken was also on, I think at one point on like 12 points on fantasy, or like even 15. It was like something crazy. So he went from that down to like whatever it was, 8, and then down to 4. So that would been quite good for the old fantasy football. But there we go.
But listen, let's just focus on the game because we obviously had a few conversations after it, right? And we see this in a very different way. I am going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
We've talked for weeks on this pod about the fact that Brentford are just too open, right? Great going forward, but ultimately can't keep a clean sheet to save their lives at the moment. They're going away to a Fulham side that you freely admit is underperforming massively, even in terms of where they should be. In terms of, you rate them as a second best in the Premier League. If Brentford have got out of there with a 1-0 win, that would have been an incredible result. Agreed?
I agree, but still, the way we played that game, I still would have gone away. Yeah, it's a massive win, obviously, but just underlying performance was actually pretty bad.
Look, that's fine.
You know what I mean?
I'm full of admiration for the way Brentford played the game. If they'd played you have a shot, we have a shot against Fulham, they'd have got battered, right? It would have ended 3 or 4-2 or something like that, right? Fulham have got way more going forward. They do. I mean, ultimately, that's why they're performing so well in terms of your model, in terms of XG, in terms of where they actually theoretically should be in the league. If Brentford had just gone caution to the wind and played the same vein that they had in recent weeks, I think Fulham would have turned them over a lot more comfortably. The fact that once, obviously, Vitali comes up with a thunderbolt, Brentford, the way they sat in and they kind of set their stall out, and you looked at the XG, the expected goals at around 80 minutes. Fulham's XG at 80 minutes was something like 0.6. It was really low. Yeah. Brentford had done an insane job in terms of really limiting Fulham to no chances whatsoever. It was coming across to me, sitting watching it, as a job done, a kind of score, get one, yes, fine, a bit out of the blue, and then grind it out. And they came so close. I mean, that Harry Wilson flick, I'm sorry, but you can try that a million times. Granted, they lost a bit of composure afterwards, but they were undone by not a mistake. It was just a pure 1 in a million moment. And I don't
know. I still think like even if when we went to City right away, we still created better opportunities on a break and stuff like that. We just had literally nothing going forward. Couldn't string like 5 passes together. Couldn't get the ball out our own half. I understand. Yeah, okay. Like you protect the game, sure, but that was all we were doing, sitting back, nothing going, not even like a counter attack, apart from 90th minute, which was
okay. I mean, in terms of this game, what have you got?
Nothing. I'm actually really concerned about this game because the model's actually got it priced as like quite an even game. But yeah, I don't know. I being out, Roslev playing, not really convinced about that. Like it's clear that Brentford are like massively lacking the wing backs. Yeah, I'm happy to sit this one out. I'm hoping, obviously, Brentford are going to get a result, but Bournemouth have looked really good. They smashed City. I'd say like they should have won that game like by a bigger margin. Honestly, like within like the first 10-15 minutes, they should be like 2-0 up. Yeah, so I feel like I haven't got anything on this, but I don't know what the prices are. But if I was going to put a bet on, probably like both teams to score would be probably.
It's actually really interesting that you've just said that you've just referenced my bet.
But what's the price? Both teams.
No, you've just mentioned the first 10-15 minutes, and I'm not ready to give up.
Oh wow, yes. Hold on, both teams scored a 1.48. I mean, that's too short.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of, I'm not ready to give up on the Brentford inside 10 minutes angle.
Again,
I think that Brentford will be angry after what happened with Fulham. As you said, they'll be conscious of the fact that they didn't create an awful lot during the game. I think they'll try and overcompensate at the start of the Bournemouth game, and I like the both teams to score angle, and that's probably why it's so short. But I still think Brentford to be winning inside 10 minutes. The price is 13-2, so it's a very high price, and I think it's worth another punt.
What about both teams to score first half? That's 3.75.
Yeah, that's also a nice angle. The thing that worries me about that is Bournemouth often don't in the first half. If you look at a lot of their away fixtures, they come good towards the end. They're a very fit team, and they're very strong in terms of goals scored between 75 and 90. So if I'm looking at something like that, I might even look at an angle like Brentford halftime draw full time. I
Yeah.
would actually prefer a little bit more than both teams to score first half. But I still think 13-2 for Brentford to be leading in the first 10 is value. Again, looking at the form, looking at patterns, again, they scored first against Fulham. Granted, it wasn't quite first 10, but there's lots and lots and lots to like about the way Brentford start football matches. And therefore, I'm putting it up as an official tip at 13-2. I'm not quite done with it yet.
You know what? I want to put an official tip. Both teams to score in the first half because we've been super leaky and Bournemouth have been looking good. So both teams score first half, 3.75.
There you go. So what we need is like Brentford to take the lead in the 8th minute, Bournemouth to equalise in the 32nd, and then jobs are good for both bets. All right, let's move on. We've got Wolves versus Southampton. What are you thinking for this one?
I mean, Wolves were quite poor at home, right? I mean, that game, Wolves Palace was a bit of a relegation scrap, in a way. I haven't got anything in this game, but I think Wolves should edge this game. Models got Wolves as being 0.52 goals better, so I feel like Wolves should edge this. But yeah, I haven't got an official bet on this.
Okay, I have got another official bet on this, and it's a fun one. So, Wolves versus Palace was a really interesting game. It was the worst first half of football I've ever seen in my life, and then the second half it came to life, and it was a great game. But the 2 goals Wolves conceded were awful, defensively horrific. Both set pieces as well, which I thought was really interesting. Balls headed back in and effectively defends nowhere to be seen. And that's an angle I think we can exploit again ahead of this fixture. Southampton's XG performance is actually not bad. They're a couple of goals worse off than they theoretically should be. And I think they can cause problems for problems for Wolves at set pieces. So I've been having a look through the Southampton team, and Taylor Harwood Bellis is a defender that's already notched from the set piece this season. So he's got a bit of a taste, and I think he can notch again. He's 50-1 to score first in this game.
50? What about any time?
Well, that's my official tip, because if you want to take the 50 on first, I would not put you off. But my official tip is any time, which comes in at 18-1.
Okay.
So that's my tip for that one. And I think it's an absolute runner. You can also look at a shot on target for him, which is 5s. The reason that I'm not tipping it up is because if I'm banking on it being a set piece, if he does have a swing, it's likely to be right in front of goal. And considering the jump from 5-1 for a shot on target versus 18-1 any time for a goal, I think the 18-1 makes more sense. So I'm putting that up. I'm putting it up as a half tip. So 0.5 points on at 18-1.
So you said first to score?
No. Anytime.
Anytime, sorry, yeah.
Anytime at 18-1.
Bloody hell.
And I'm putting that on as a 0.5 point bet.
What's first?
Say again?
What's first to score?
Again, 50.
Oh, sorry, 50, yeah, okay.
But what I would say is, if you want to attack Harwood Bellis across all markets, I wouldn't put you off. So that's in terms of the game itself, it's a very difficult one to call, I think. Might be with you, maybe Wolves to edge it overall, but I wouldn't be backing them for sure.
I mean, again, this is another 6-pointer relegation scrap, right? Which we've already had 3 or 4 of those start of the season. Mm-hmm. So the running is going to be quite tough for those teams.
It is, and I expect Wolves to dominate a lot of the games, and that's why, again, set pieces for Southampton become even more important. And so I really like this tip, actually, at 18-1. I think it's a good shout, so bear it in mind. Let's talk about Palace versus Fulham.
You go first? You want to go
first?
first?
I can go first. I've got my third official tip. 3 games, 3 tips for anybody that's counting officially. I think that Fulham were really poor against Brentford, and a lot of it is down to how well Brentford defended, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Again, we disagree, but I thought Fulham really struggled when a team came like Brentford did. Were very organised, set the stall out, and Fulham really didn't create anything. Um, no, I think it'll be completely different against Palace. Palace are fresh off the boat of beating Spurs 1-0 at home. I think that they'll take the game to Fulham. They'll see this as an opportunity to continue their role. And I think Fulham will find more gaps at Selhurst Park than they did at Craven Cottage the other night. And therefore, I think Fulham will win this game. Fulham were 2.7 earlier this week. It's already come in to 2.5 or 6-4 if you prefer fractions. So don't hang around too long. I anticipate it might even drop further. It's an official tip for me. I got on it at 2.7, but in terms of being fair with the timing of the pod, I'll put it as an official tip at 2.5. And I think
honest
Fulham,
guy.
I think Fulham will win. They're also on a great. I mean, to win the game like that, I mean, you're going to be going on into this one with tails up, looking to consolidate. The mood in camp will be so strong. And I think Fulham can get over the line against Palace. Really do.
It's actually 2.69 on Pinnacle, so
Okay.
it might be around that price somewhere else. But
All
yeah,
right. Abort the
we
2.5. Abort the
yeah,
2.5. Rein it back in.
like we mentioned before, you want to be shopping around, right? So use sites like Odds Portal, which you can, or Odds Checker, whatever you're using. But I feel like Odds Portal is a bit better. It's got better UX, I find, and you can look at the price movements by time as well. I know you can do that on Odds Checker, but I think this one gives better visibility, so I prefer to use that. So always check that, and obviously the exchange as well.
Great shout. And your bet?
But yeah, for that, I've got nothing on that. But I think it could be quite a close game, you know. But yeah, I'm not. The thing is, Palace, like you don't know if they're coming back or not. Eze's injured though, right? So
I mean, that's a massive loss.
yeah, I mean,
Massive,
at least he's
massive
gone.
loss.
So like, everyone goes for Eze, right? And he's gone. I think Fulham are like they're fine, fully fit, right? So yeah,
Cool.
not sure. Next, we're going to go on to the next one.
Okay. Let's talk West Ham Everton.
Bloody hell, West Ham. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they were horrendous against Forest, but surely Lopetegui's time's coming to an end, right? But I said this at the beginning, right? It's a massive job. West Ham, like the whole structure, everything is completely bonkers. Moyes looks like he was doing a good job now, right? Proving those fans wrong. You rate Lopetegui, right? You thought you might turn it around, but
That's long gone out of the window.
out the window already.
No, I said it. I've said it for a few weeks now. I rated him when he came in as a good appointment, but his failure to learn his lessons defensively really cost them. I mean, here's a really interesting stat. Of West Ham's last 4 games that they've lost all of them, all 4, by a margin of 3 goals or greater. When they go behind, they capitulate.
Yeah.
Like really, really badly. And that's definitely an exploitable angle for as long as Lopetegui remains in charge. I wouldn't be using it against Everton because Everton are not the sort of free scoring side that can really hurt them.
Yeah.
However, it's definitely an angle to look at for future games, and bear that one in mind. If you see West Ham a goal down at half time or even 2 goals down at 60 minutes, don't be afraid to back them to lose by even more at that point in play. I think that's definitely an exploitable angle because it just seems that once the game's gone, they completely down tools. So there's definitely an exploitable angle here. However, this one at home to Everton, I agree, this is make or break for Lopetegui. He loses, he's out. He's got to be.
Yeah, because international break, right? So if you're going to get rid of him, you get rid of him now, right?
Time. It all makes sense. He's got to get a win here. Any other result for me, and
or do they get rid of him either way, right?
It's hard to get rid of a manager after you've just won them. That's hard. If you're going to do that, why not do it before the last one, before this game? So it's kind of like, and then put it in caretaker charge until the international break and start sending out people earlier or whatever. Anyway, I think West Ham will win this game narrowly. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna suggest 2-1 to West Ham, but it is not an official.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have anything on this, but models actually got West Ham as just like slight favourites, like 0.28 goals, so West Ham better. But
So you agree with me?
yeah, I do. But sometimes in a model, right, you need to have a eye test as well, right? You can't just look into the numbers all. Um, yeah, not sure. I'm just gonna leave it out. Like I check the prices. I feel like the market's probably more or less where it should be, so I'm not going to touch that.
Okay. Next we've got Brighton versus City.
What? You hold on. Let me guess. Both teams are scoring City to win. You
It's
stopped
not.
that. You stopped tipping that now. Yeah.
I'm not saying I've stopped.
That lasted a long time.
My angle's very similar to that, but it's changed
Okay.
slightly because look, I just don't have faith in City anymore.
Mm.
Is that nuts? Am I going crazy? I don't
No,
know.
no, no.
They're leaking goals for fun. They've just been done 4 more by Sporting. The no Rodri, no party thing is
Yeah.
just so true, and I just don't have any faith in them to win games anymore. I'm not, they're not out of the title race, of course, by any stretch. They're still favourites, but they really do have to go out with an attitude of we're going to score more than you, because I just don't see how they keep clean sheets. And there's stuff going on as well. I mean, this whole Bernardo Silva comments, like we're in a dark place. I was like, wow, that's really.
What? I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
he
When
said
was
that. He said that the other night. He said that yesterday after they lost to Sporting. Guardiola then disagreed with his comments, and there's a
Dark
whole
place.
to say we're in a dark place. I mean, you've just won God knows how many Premier League titles, and
Maybe there's some rumours about the charges.
you just don't know what's going on, what's happening there. But
Yeah.
ultimately, what's clear is that things aren't going the way they want them to go. They're going away to Brighton, who are a force at home. They've scored 12 goals at home in the last 5 games. That's an average of 2.4 goals a game. And for me, there's a very clear, very straightforward betting angle here, and it's Brighton to score over 1.5 goals in this game. Don't worry about the result. Doesn't matter,
Yeah.
right? I actually wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 2-all or even a 3-2 City. It could be. I don't know. But what I am pretty confident on is that Brighton will score 2 goals, and you can get 13 to 8 on that price. That is an official tip.
Cool. I don't really have anything this game. It sounds like I'm being quite repetitive, but but just add a bit of my analysis. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with City, but yeah, they don't look the same team, right? I know they had a few injuries and stuff, but players are back, right? Walker was meant to be out for a few more weeks. KDB, he started. KDB's back on the bench, so last week. So like maybe they hit some rhythm again, but I think it's going to be a tough game for them. I haven't been impressed by Brighton either, but they put a good game against Liverpool, to be honest. So they have it in a locker. Not sure where it will go, but I think this will be a good game to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
And it's on TV, so yeah.
Brighton's league position doesn't lie as well. That while the metrics aren't perfect, they're still started quite strongly under Hurzeler. But I really do like this official tip. So 13 to 8 available there. That's definitely worth including in the ACCAs 100%.
Yeah.
Or obviously doing as a single if you want to make sure that you're really maximising your betting strategy. Liverpool versus Villa.
Oh, I think Liverpool should win this comfortably, to be honest. I haven't got an official bet, but my model says that Liverpool are a whole 1 goal better than Villa, so I expect them to win this quite comfortably. Also, the whole thing about Villa after a Champions League game, they seem a bit sluggish, right, at times. They're focusing on that, right? Like Emery loves that. And I think Liverpool have been quality this season, to be honest, like really good, really impressed with them. So don't have an official bet, but I can see Liverpool winning this quite comfortably, I think.
Yeah, I don't either, but I completely agree that Liverpool will win this game comfortably. Villa really disappointed me against Spurs. In the second half,
Yeah.
they just fell away. Like,
Yeah.
I was actually waiting for them to get a result double chance in that game as part of another tips that I'm following. And half time, they went 1-0 up in the game and they were level at half time. I was feeling fairly confident. And then they went and lost 4-1, and they really looked leggy. They looked like they were tired already, and the games are now coming thick and fast. They've just lost again tonight, 1-0 against Club Bruges in the Champions League.
Yeah, but you see the penalty they gave away.
I heard about it, yeah. But even so, the reports are that they deserve to lose the game. And I think now's the time, and I don't just mean in this game, I think now's the time to really start opposing Villa in the Premier League. And I think that they're tired, games are going to come thick and fast around Christmas and all of that stuff. Fair enough, they've got a reasonable squad, but things have just been going so well, and now it really feels like there's just been that little turning point. And I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool put them to the sword here. Another angle to exploit. Again, I've got doubts in terms of how fresh they are. So another in-play tip here is to again look at Liverpool. Half time, if it's quite it's a 1-1 or something. Don't be afraid to back Liverpool. On the -1 handicap at that point or something. Thinking that they win the second half comfortably by a couple of goals.
Yeah.
I quite like that sort of angle here, and it's an angle I'd watch out for moving forward as well.
Just to add to that, like I've just checked the XG on that game today, and like Villa, bear in mind, they've got a pretty good attacking team. They only managed to create 0.42 XG the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
against the mighty Club Bruges.
Yeah, it's like that's quite poor.
Worrying, isn't it? United, Leicester.
You can go first, mate, as you're a resident United fan.
Thanks. I mean, ultimately, in terms of after the 1-1 draw with Chelsea, Roy Keane said on Sky that he doesn't think United have much conviction in the final third when it comes to finishing. He is absolutely right. I mean, if you look at the stats for basically our three most used forward players this season, you're talking about Bruno, you're talking about Xerxes, you're talking about Garnacho. All three of them are effectively performing way worse than their expected goal suggests that they should. I think Xerxes and Garnacho are both performing around minus 1.5 goals to where they should be, and Bruno's minus 2.5. Or maybe Garnacho's minus 2.5. It's one way or the other, but effectively between the three of them, they should have scored an extra 5.56 goals. And that's a huge swing from a points perspective. And effectively, when they go through on goal, United, you just don't have any faith that they're going to hit the back of the net. Xerxes is not a number 9. I'm struggling to see where he fits into United's side, but definitely not as a number 9. He can't finish his dinner. Bruno is, I've still have faith in Bruno. I think he's a solid player, and under Amorim especially, he should come good. Garnacho has just so much pedigree, so much potential.
Yeah, he's
when he
good.
does things on instinct, he's outrageous. But when he's got time to think about it, it just goes out the window. It panics, it's fluffed, and ultimately he needs to start putting end product to his game. And that is the biggest step up for a young player with potential. Where is your end product? And right now we're just not seeing nearly enough from Garnacho. In this game, the last point on that was for Amorim. So he's obviously going to come in with a new system, a new setup, and that's all fine. But one of the biggest challenges he's going to have when he takes over is not just that side, but also the man management side from a psychological point of view. He can't make that many signings before the end of this season, right? And the objective has to be top 4. If he's going to achieve that, he needs to work with the players psychologically and make sure that they believe themselves that they can start to stick chances away. Because you can have the best system in the world, but if people don't know how to put it in the onion bag, you ain't going to do anything.
Yeah, but do you not think like they're just being unfortunate around like not scoring the goals, right? It's not like they're not good players, right? It's just sometimes it happens, right? Some teams go on a long spell where have IXG, don't convert. Like I feel like Brentford's in the past has been like that, right?
There's probably a little bit of misfortune there, but ultimately they're just not taking big chances. Look at some of the ones Garnacho's missed. Look at the first game of the season, the tap-in that was like 0.94 XG or something. You look at Xerxes, he's missed 3 or 4 sitters. look at some of the ones against Brighton. We ended up losing that game. Like, these are huge chances. There's probably a little bit of misfortune, fine, but at some point,
I
when you
think
get a
they look.
chance, you have to
Yeah,
score.
I think they looked good against Chelsea, to be honest. And I feel like on another day they might have won that game. But obviously, lucky for us, had tipped Chelsea, draw no bet, so that was good. But going back to United on the XG front, they've scored 9 goals this season, but their expected goals is actually 17.8. So, like, that's mental. So basically, they should have almost scored double what they have.
But that's my point exactly, right?
Like
Well,
saying that on expected points, they're still like mid-table. So
but that's my point exactly. While the XG performance looks good, the bottom line is they're not taking the chances to match that,
yeah,
and that's the problem. So it's compliments to their creativity, what you're saying there, Lucas, but it's not compliments to their finishing. The
yeah,
finishing
no,
needs to
yeah, and I
improve.
think and I think about like that finishing. That's gonna I think that's just a bit of variance, right? Like
No, I
there's gonna be a
disagree.
run of games where they're just gonna start like banging them in now from nowhere.
I disagree. I don't think that is variance. I think you miss a couple, particularly young players like Garnacho or new players to the league like Xerxes. You miss a couple and your confidence goes. And you need to get that confidence back. It's not just because they're being presented with these chances time and again. Eventually, they'll start knocking them in. I think it's not a given. I hope it is, but I don't think it is. And I think that there's lots of work for them.
I
For
don't
them
know.
to
I
do.
reckon. I reckon they'll go on a run of games where they start scoring a lot of goals, but we'll see.
I think some of their rivals. You look at the likes of players like Salah for Liverpool, Cole Palmer for Chelsea. Odegaard when he's fit for Arsenal, or occasionally even the likes of obviously Saka for Arsenal, Foden for Man City when he's at it. These players, not only are they're taking their big chances, but also they're creating chances and goals out of nothing. Those little magic moments that those players create. I'm not even asking United's players to conjure up moments like that. I'm asking them to take the clear chances put to them. Until they start doing that, United just, no matter how good Amorim is, United can't really go anywhere. I wouldn't, for the record on this game, I wouldn't touch United with a barge pole at 1-4. I really wouldn't. It's got banana skin written all over it. I'm not putting it
Really,
up. Yeah, I'm not putting it up as an official
I
bet.
think. I mean, I'm not obviously. I don't have an official bet, but I'd say Model's got United actually a whole 1 goal better. I don't rate Leicester at all. I think United will win this.
United should. I've just got a feeling they'll creep over the line. Leicester have had some good away results. They scored 2 at Arsenal. They scored 3 at Southampton. They've actually got a few points on the road. So, of course, you expect United to win it. But in terms of value from the prices, I don't see it there. Which is, why we kind of leave it. Spurs Ipswich. I've not got an awful lot on this. Effectively, I think Spurs will overrun Ipswich, and it'll be a pretty main run-of-the-mill home win.
Same. I got Tottenham being 1.82 goals better. So yeah, I feel like I've got nothing. I'm kind of happy to move on.
Let's move on from that one because we've got 2 big ones to talk about at the end here, and we'll start with Forest versus Newcastle. Over to you.
Easy, mate. I've said this for a while, right? Every single week I'm saying Forest are massively undervalued by the market. That they're playing really well. Like, they're making us a lot of money, I'd say, in terms of our bets. So I'm going to continue with that. And I'm going to back them on Asian handicap 0. So basically what that means is if it's a draw, you get your money back. And if you win, you win. So it's a bit of insurance there, right? Which is not a bad shout because Newcastle have been improving last few weeks. I think they've played quite well in some parts against Chelsea. The other week, obviously, they beat Arsenal. However, if you look at the XG, they were quite lucky to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like I like what Forest are doing. Like, as much as I hate to say it. Only because I got a bet with my mate. He's a Forest fan. I got a bet that Brentford will finish above him, so that's probably out the window.
Yep.
Yeah, but hopefully I'll make money on Forest so I can pay off that bet, right? But yeah, Forest 0 on the Asian handicap. Pretty confident of that. That's probably my top tip of the week.
Cool. Okay. Do you think Nuno is manager of the season so far?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. To be honest, there's been a lot of really good improvements from managers, like Fulham, obviously massive improvement as well. Forest, Liverpool, obviously, but I guess in terms of biggest overachievers, yeah, I guess so you could say Forest, given their position, right?
Yeah, there's a few candidates, but he's definitely in the mix. I really like the job he's done. Again, the defensive performance and metrics are so solid. My worry for this one, I've just got to. This one's based on nothing but intuition, right?
It's got to come to an end, right, at some point.
Exactly this. Like ultimately,
Yeah.
you've got the data, and your tip, and data wise, your tip looks a sound one on paper, and I wouldn't put
It's
any.
the eye test. It doesn't pass the Connell's eye test.
But
Dodgy eyes.
I wouldn't put anyone off backing Lucas's tip, and I'd definitely listen more to him than me on this one. But I just got a sneaky suspicion that they'll lose this game, and I don't really know why. But I just think everything's been going so well for Forest. They're due a slip. Newcastle, I've given Eddie Howe quite a lot of stick on this podcast. Sorry, Eddie. However, the performance that they put in against Arsenal at home was amazing. Tactically brilliant. He outsmarted Arteta, and Newcastle got the win that they fully deserved in that game. They also looked a little bit dangerous against Chelsea the game before. It's just starting to turn for them. Can Alexander Isak as well now get on a run? Now that he's notched again. I've just got a sneaky suspicion that Newcastle will win this 1-2-1. But it's not an official tip by any stretch of the imagination, and Lucas's view on it is definitely more sound than mine. But I've just got a little suspicion.
It's on Sky, so that'll be, again, good game to watch on a Sunday if you got a bet on. So, yeah, if you're thinking about putting something on, don't listen to Connell, listen to me. Gosh.
I hope let's hope that those don't prove famous last words on the show next week. All right, last game then is Chelsea versus Arsenal. What a game!
I'll let you lead out on this one.
Actually, I'm saying what a game. I do have an official tip on it, and it doesn't suggest it's going to be a great game. But anyway,
0-0, no goals.
Not quite 0-0, but just before we launch into it, I think one thing to say is I just cannot believe the way that Arsenal fans turned on Arteta after.
Honestly, it's just standard Twitter. Literally every single person is an Arsenal fan, and it's just so that's one reason Arsenal fans get so much stick, just because the stuff they post on Twitter is just ridiculous.
Yeah, also Arsenal fans, we still do love you, so please keep listening to the podcast. But I mean it's pretty fickle. I mean, in terms of the job that he's done, yes, I know that they come close to the league twice and didn't get over the line, but you can't argue still for me that Arsenal aren't on an upward trajectory, and I think it's crazy that there's Arsenal fans asking for him out. But here's the big point I want to make. It's kind of with regards to the media, right? The media were chief instigators in getting rid of Ten Hag at United. Now, Ten Hag didn't help himself. Obviously, everybody knows that. Obviously, everybody knows that long term, he was not the right man. However, the media were hell-bent on getting rid of him, as they kind of are with every United manager, that as soon as they start to show cracks. They got their man, right? And Ten Hag left. And all of a sudden, you just sense the media pick up the ball, the Ten Hag ball, and in that game, place it squarely at the feet of Mikel Arteta. Now with Ten Hag and United temporarily off the radar, because obviously Ruben Amorim has to get a little bit of time, suddenly it's going to be the pressure from the media is going to be ramped up on Mikel Arteta, and he needs to get a result here, or the media are going to start coming after him like a ton of bricks. The Arsenal clamour is going to get worse, and it's just not an easy time. If I'm Mikel Arteta, I'm wishing Erik Ten Hag stayed in his job longer. If Erik Ten Hag was still the manager of Manchester United, I don't believe the media would even be talking about Arteta. I genuinely believe that. But they are talking about him because they need a new focus in terms of, a manager to get rid of, if you like, or a big story around the club.
Do you know? Do you know where Arsenal are on expected points in the league? Have a guess.
Well, you're asking me this question, so it's not going to be high, is it? Let's say I'll try and play fairly safe and say eighth.
Yeah, eighth. Bang on. Eighth.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's bang on eighth. Yeah.
So they're not. So they're overperforming at the moment. Look,
Yeah, massively overperforming.
they're
Yeah.
going through a sticky spell, right? Just like City are going through a sticky spell. Just like Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool look great at the moment, but this is
Yeah.
one of the reasons I tipped Chelsea for the title last week, because ultimately some of the bigger clubs are just having a little moment.
And
But
Chelsea are ninth on expected points.
okay, promising. But anyway, it's just interesting to see the way that the media works and the media operates. And again, I feel a bit sorry for Arteta, because I think that they really are going to come after him now that they need almost a new target, a new focus.
It's gonna
Arsenal
be
fans
pay for it.
have faith in the man. I mean, he's developed and improved so much as a coach. His injuries have been massively against him.
Yeah, only now, injuries only now. What about all the other teams that had to pull up with all that stuff last season, right? In the
Yeah, but
season
none of them have come second in successive years, right? Like, I mean, what the job he's done is still incredible. I mean, let me put it this way: supposing Amorim pulled out of United for some weird reason, and we got offered Arteta, I'd have him in a heartbeat, like in a heartbeat.
What if Pep goes at the end of the season and Arteta to City? Do you reckon he'll go?
I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I wouldn't be
Do you reckon he'll go?
particularly if Arsenal fans turn more on him. I wouldn't be surprised if he thought, you know
Yeah.
what, I don't need this in my life. Yeah. I mean, City, he learned a lot at City. He learned a lot under Pep. He knows all the backroom people.
Yeah.
It would be a remarkable story. It would be huge. But
I mean, their Twitter will just be a meltdown.
it would go crazy, absolutely crazy.
Love it.
In terms of this game, while I do rate Chelsea as a side, I do have to say in the last few weeks, I think they've been playing a little bit safe. They were very, very safe against Liverpool. They didn't really go after them and ended up losing by 1. They were pretty safe against Newcastle. They just concentrated on getting over the line. And they were pretty safe against United. I mean, United were there for the taking, and they didn't want it, Chelsea. I was really surprised. And I think they'll be pretty safe here as well. I think Arteta will come into this game thinking, I can't get beat. I think Chelsea will go into this game thinking a draw's not a bad result. And I think it will, for that reason, it will be a draw. I also don't think there'll be many goals in the game. So my official tip, which I think is a fair price, is a draw and under 2.5 goals in the game, which comes in at 7-2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an official tip, but I think you're about right. I've got Arsenal projected to be 0.17 goals better, so very tight game, I'd say, and I feel like Chelsea at home will put a performance in, and yeah, because Arsenal being a bit, wobbly, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And Chelsea again, you don't know what team's going to come out. They've been a bit hit and miss. I think this is going to be a draw. I feel like it might be a bit like an uneventful game,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, no tip for me. But yeah, I'll if I was watching this game, which I probably will be, probably wouldn't mind putting money in the draw.
Cool. Combine it with under 2.5. This is not going to end 2-all or 3-all. So let's recap then. So I've got 5 tips for you. I've got Taylor Harwood-Bellis to have a goal at any time at 18-1. I've got Brentford to score in the first 10 minutes against Bournemouth. Sorry, to take the lead in the first 10 minutes against Bournemouth at 13-2. I have got Fulham to win away at Palace at around 13-8. 13-8, 7-4, depending where you go. I've got Brighton to score at least 2 goals against City. That's my nap, by the way. If you want a nap, that's my nap. Brighton to score at least 2. 13-8. And I've got under 2.5 goals and draw in Chelsea Arsenal. Now, for the more outrageous of you out there, the more rogue that think that sounds like a great accumulator, you can put all 5 of them in one bet. And the odds
What's the
on that.
price?
Do you want to guess the odds?
No.
The odds on the fivefold would be 4,207 to 1. I'll be having a pound on it. Now,
Pound.
if you want to take out Harwood Bellis at 18 to 1 and just leave the other four, it comes to 220 to 1. And if you want to take out Brentford in the first 10 minutes, it comes to 28 to 1. And that 28 to 1 for the treble, I think, is a very, very nice bet. So that's what I've got planned this week. They're all 1-pointers apart from Harwood Bellis, which I'm doing at 0.5 points.
Myself, so I've got 3 bets actually. One I'm going to disclose in a minute. So I got Brentford in the Brentford game. I got both teams to score. I think that was, I said 3.75. Both teams to score in the first half. That is Forest Asian handicap 0, so ultimately draw no bet. At home to Newcastle, that was like 2.03, I think, something like that. You can get. And then the third one, because I've got to mention that last week was I tipped the draw double, and it was quite close. It was the Palace game, which finished 2-2, and then it was the Southampton-Everton game, which it was 1-1 in the final few minutes, but the goal got chalked off, so it stayed 1-0 to Southampton, so it was quite close. So I'm going to go again on a treble draw.
Treble
half a
draw.
point. Yeah. I'm going to go Brentford Bournemouth a draw,
Yep.
Palace Fulham a draw, and then Chelsea Arsenal a draw. That will give you around 41 to 1 odds.
Interesting. That's not a bad shout. Look,
So
coming
a
in
bit of fun, bit of an act of fun. Hopefully, hopefully the ones on the Saturday land, and you got like a good little sweat on Sunday.
I love it. Sticking in a rogue bet at the end. Love it. Really, I
Yeah,
like it.
learn from the best, mate.
One thing I would say in terms of Lucas, is you might doing it as a 41 to 1 act is quite nice, but you could also do the doubles.
Yeah,
Go back 3, draw doubles in there, which
yeah,
will still give you pretty nice, probably around 7, 8 to 1 for each one. It's
yeah,
costing you 3 times as much, but if you do the doubles as well as the treble, then if one draw lets you down, you could still end up in very nice profit there.
yeah.
So that could be a nice angle as well. All right, but there you go. You've got 5 bets from me to attack. You've got 2 from Lucas, and then you've got the ACCA option from both of us as well. So happy punting. Have a great rest of week. Enjoy the football, and we'll see you next week.
2 weeks time, international break.
2 weeks time it is.
Yeah,
Thanks.
cool.
I'll update my calendar. Cheers everyone.
Bye.